Once upon a time, on the magical Isle of Arran, lived a man. What a man! A giant of a man! Now, the Isle of Arran is a real island off the west coast of Scotland, visible from Ayr, which is where Dougie lives with Johanna, who is Magdalena's mama, or Mamusha. It is true that foot passengers and cars can travel to Arran over the waves from the harbours of either Ardrossan or Troon on the trusty, rusty Calmac, Caledonian McBride ferry, which plies these routes, defying the sea monsters and kelpies of the Firth of Clyde. Arran has standing stones and stone circles known as the Standing Stones of Machrie Moor, which were placed there by Neolithic Bronze Age humans, maybe 4,000 or 5,000 years ago, a very long time ago indeed. Magdalena and I have visited those ancient holy granite stones, standing taller than a man, which can send a Geiger counter reek off its head, completely lula, as these volcanic stones are powerfully radioactive. The origin of these stones is shrouded in mystery, as is the moody landscape in which they stand. The weather on Machrie Moor, it is true, can often be dreich, a particularly Scots combination of dreary and yich. It is likely that ancient folk were trying to make sense of the cosmos and arrange these magical stones in relation to the heavens above, in the hope of answering that age-old question, why? Why? Why are we here? What's it all about, Alfie? What is the meaning of life, Brian? Now, the man that I mentioned earlier is the guardian of the sacred stones of Machrie Moor. He may be real, or he may not be. Some folk claim to have seen him, but some doubting Anguses believe him to be a folklore myth. They say he is tall, maybe even a giant, with a big nose and a grotesque face, able to contort itself into horrible, strange shapes. His name is Fingal, and he wears a kilt and a white rabbit fur sporran. Now, when Fingal eats his scran, his proper Scots traditional dinner of haggis, neeps and tatties, he tethers his two trusty, husky, wolfhound dogs to the one standing stone we are holding it. His dogs are named Bran, which means raven, and Skealang, which means survivor. Now, Fingal is nae frae Scotland. He is, to be sure, from what is now Northern Ireland. And he has an accent to prove it, so he does, to be sure. Ireland, after all, is only a hop and a skip over the seas. Now, Fingal is friendly. It's not scary at all. But Bran and Skealang, on the other hand, you'd not want to mess with these doggies. Semi-feral, but devoted to Fingal, so they are. Fingal is tasked with guarding the stones of Machrie Moor on behalf of Scota, the daughter of Pharaoh, who in the Bible discovered Moses in the Egyptian bulrushes, and after whom Scotland is named. Scota, our glorious lady, Queen of Scotland and the Islands. It is indeed a most honourable duty. Every day, Bran transforms into a raven and patrols the skies up above, while Skeelang, meanwhile, sniffs out every inch of the wild heathland. If humans appear, Fingal and his trusty hounds can choose to be hidden by their cloaks of invisibility. But if malevolent trolls or evil fairies up to mischief dare to chance their luck, the hounds are sure to rouse Fingal, who let out such a roar he'll scare them back to their hellhole lairs. Now, one day, Bran, high up amongst the clouds, spotted a distant figure approaching across the moorland. This was highly unusual, as nearly all human visitors approached along the track from the car park, an easy 2 kilometres away. Bran sent Skeelang to investigate. Skeelang, nose to the ground, scurried through the gorse, ferns and heather, sniffing as he went. Interesting. The scent of peregrine falcon droppings mixed with those of eagle, badger, rabbit, goat and hare. A fascinating soup of smells to stimulate the olfactory senses, but nothing at all unusual until the sensitive nose of Skeelang picks up something exotic, peppery, foreign, non-Gallic, definitely not from round here. A tourist. Nah, unlikely. They generally smell of sweat and tea, biscuits, chocolate, cake, piss and oranges. No, this is unfamiliar. There's hints of goat, but it's goat marinated in star anise, honey, mint and other spicy, gingery exotica. The fellow approaching comes with him a whiff of the Orient. Skeelang lets out a low growl, almost inaudible, but at a frequency that tickles Fingal's ear. Fingal gets to his feet, sticks one dirty digit into his right ear and rotates his finger before extracting it to examine the wax collected under the fingernail. Satisfied with his perusal of the wax, Fingal looks towards the direction from where the growl emanated. Way beyond Skeelang and fast approaching is an enormous figure, getting bigger with each stride. Another giant! Fingal narrows his eyes. There is something familiar about the gait of the approaching stranger. It is the role of one accustomed to riding upon a camel, beast of the desert. Surely, it can't be. But it is. None other than long-lost Machrie Moor himself, returned after millennia. Machrie and Fingal played together as children, and Fingal recognises, sure as day, 'tis he. He cups a hand to his mouth and calls out, Machrie Moor! The sound takes a few seconds to travel the score or so miles. There is a momentary pause, but then the figure halts and responds back. Fingal. The two childhood friends run towards each other over the rough ground, and in an instant, having bounded over 10 miles each, are locked in a giant, loving, familial bear hug. It's lonely being the only giant on the hillside with just your hounds for company. Fingal and Machrie are delighted to see each other again and are soon seated in the cauldron, scoffing on haggis, neeps and tatties. It's been ages since Machrie tasted homely scran like this, and he is transported back to the innocence of childhood. Fingal cracks open the Arran single malt that he's had secreted away for 15 long years, waiting for such an occasion as this. Reunited, the two old friends reminisce into the wee hours and eventually succumb to slumber. In the morning, they blearily arise, throats parched, and drain almost the entire contents of not only Loch Garbad, but also Uri Loch. Eventually, the two giants are sated. Pure Scots loch water is surely the whiskey of the gods, and it washes away any hangover hints that remain. Kettle's on, and Fingal brews up the iron to help the porridge oats slip down. All is now well with the world, for the time being at least. They get to Torquay, and Machrie Moor explains that he's been travelling for months on a mission to return home for the first time since Scota banished him from Arran all those years ago. He's been tasked to claim Arran and all the Isles for his liege, the fearsome Ras El Hanout, Lord of the Spice. Dear, oh dear, oh dear. This puts the old friends into conflict. They each serve opposing masters. Fingal is the vassal of Queen Scota, daughter of the Egyptian pharaoh, whilst Machrie is the enemy of Scota and is loyal to Moor of the Maghreb, Ras El Hanout. Despite this, the two comrades don't want to fall out. So, after a friendly bout of arm wrestling, which Fingal wins, it is agreed that Machrie Moor will instead hop across the sea to the mainland to challenge Scouser Macartney, the famous beetle, bard and guardian of the nearby Mull of Kintyre instead. That's another story for another day indeed. Thank you very much.